Welcome to episode 108 of No Shame. Pleasure to have this interesting dude on, a director, and you've done some massive stuff so far. It's very popular in Ireland at the moment. But listen, I want to extract this information right from the start, from your head. Yeah. So we touched on it as well. I said about the idea of people trying to become a director. Back in the 90s, you have to move to Hollywood, you have to buy all these expensive cameras, and I'd say that the industry now is massively
absolutely
oversaturated.
Totally. I mean, like, you know, these days people can direct something with their mobile phone, you know what I mean, or whatever. And it doesn't even have to be a mobile phone, whatever you can get your hands on, you know. I mean, with Instagram around, with all the kind of social media platforms, you know, everyone's pretty much a director these days, you know. And that's why, and look, it's not even just people, it's also like companies, you know, big corporate companies just pumping, you know, huge amounts of videos, you know, video content out there. That it is just completely oversaturated. So it's very hard to kind of stand out from the crowd, even as an individual director, or even for these big, huge brands, you know.
How do you start this, like? Well, so you live in London now.
Yeah, so I ended up doing well, like getting a lot of different projects, like working for, like starting off in animation, working for like the likes of MTV, did the MTV Awards 2 years in a row, and then was also like directing my own kind of projects on the side from that, you know, doing videos, like mainly music videos for like people like Digitalism, C6 Steve, these type of, you know, artists, and very different videos from each other too, because one was like very heavy on the VFX side, which was my background, computer animation and that kind of thing, you know, a full CGI world. Like I shot these dancers on a green screen, and so all the basically the kind of concept was like sort of the lights, you know, on the ground plane was sort of moving towards these people that were way off in the distance, and it was going to like sort of grow up their body in sync with the music and bring them to life. And then they were just going to dance, you know, to the beats and all that kind of stuff as they were kind of like lit up in by these lights, you know. So CGI kind of stuff plastered over their face and whatever else. So it took like a long time to make, you know. It was over like 6 months, no joke, but we weren't working on it full time, and it's only like I think it was a 5-minute track. We would take a break for like a couple of months and then get back to it, and even like for the editor and the VFX guys and that kind of thing, you know, they just couldn't do it all the time. It was something we were doing on the side.
A mix-up.
Yeah, and then like obviously the C6 Steve one was very, very different, because that was like pure live action, you know, and we shot that in a pub in Shoreditch, and then on the Baker Street tube station, you know, in the underground line.
How's that when you're holding cameras down there?
Like, I mean, the thing is that people were just like, you know, going about their day-to-day life, and we were there shooting like a film, you know. And this is like going back quite a bit, you know. It's not like nowadays, I mean, where it's probably more frequent people running around, you know, and shooting whatever. It was literally just asking people like who were there at the time, would you mind, like, if we, you know, put Steve beside you on the bench, and you're sat there in the corner or whatever, he's just playing away, and and then
anyone throw a few bob at him?
Nah, but a lot of people did stop, and you know, they were intrigued by it and him, and he's you know, he's an interesting character, and so I mean, like, even when we shot in the pub later on, like Amy Winehouse, who was alive at the time, she was there for the shoot. She came down because her boyfriend at the time, so he was a big fan of C6 Steve, and he knew the shoot was happening, so they both came down.
And how do you end up in London? So as I said, how do you get?
So when I started out in this kind of business, you know, after I graduated, I actually, you know, and I'd done a film that was part of my sort of graduation project, and then I continued it after that and finished it. You know, it was my first sort of animated film. It was about like a rat who wants to escape like this sort of inner city gloomy life that he has, so he snorts crack cocaine to escape, you know. And that was a CG animation back in 2001, and then, like, at that time you didn't really have kind of animation like that. It was more sort of, you know, you did have it, but it was a very small percentage. But you know, the mainstream, like, everyone you thought of animation, or they thought of it as something for kids, but I was always thinking, this can be something for adults. You know, we can do it in a way that's sort of edgy, you know, extreme, whatever. We can do whatever we want. There's no boundaries.
So I'd say going down that road was that had to be a challenge.
Look, animation, it's so time consuming, man. You know what I mean? It's you. Like, if you pick up a camera, you shoot it and then you edit it and get it out there or whatever, you know, you might do some colouring on it, that kind of thing. But with animation, you have to go through every single step of the pipeline. First of all, like, draw up what you want to kind of design. Then you got to build it. Then you got to, like, put a skeleton inside it, like with its characters, to bring it to life. You got to animate it to actually make it move. You then got to, like, or prior to that, even, like, texture it, you know what I mean, put the colours on it, the clothes, whatever needs to be, you know. So you got all these different steps. There's
a great documentary on Netflix about this. It's called Walt. I say you appreciate that stuff, like.
I do, but I think because I came from an art background, you know what I mean? So since I was a very young kid, I was just always drawing, you know what I mean? During school, whatever. And I was kind of rewarded for that, you know, and praised for it, and which then kind of encouraged you to sort of pursue that kind of path.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
supported those stuff.
You know what? I was always encouraged by my parents, do you know what I mean? To pursue what I wanted to do. When I was 16, I realised I want to be a director, you know?
16?
16.
What made that happen?
I don't know. I just felt like that was the next stage for art. Do you know what I mean? To bring my pictures to life. You know what I mean? I felt like that, or working with people, with actors, and it was music videos as well. That really kind of, like, they were my thing since I was a kid. You know, like the likes of Michael Jackson, you know, and all those 80s music videos, Aha, do you know what I mean? All this kind of stuff. That was what, you know, all the hand-drawn kind of animated stuff. Billie Jean, walking along the step. Yeah, the floor was lighting up. Like, and someone said this to me recently, not too long ago, a mate of mine, he goes like, you know, the teacher in art class would say to the class, right, this is what I want you to do. And he'd explain exactly how it's supposed to be done. And I would be like, okay, grand. And I'd still go off. Everyone else would follow those rules. I'd go off and do my own thing, and I'd still get the best mark. I didn't realize at the time until he said, I was like, yeah, you're probably right, you know. But that's what I've always done.
I wanted to ask you about this. Who told you that go and travel? Because you were young at this time, right?
To be honest,
traveling is massive.
Yeah, I just hadn't seen much of the world. Do you know what I mean? I thought Ireland is the only place for me. I'm going to be here making films for the rest of my life, and that's it. Do you know what I mean? And then I ended up like traveling around the world. Not just like the time in San Francisco, that was only a summer trip, but I mean actually doing a year trip around the world with my mates. So we started off in LA, or, you know, California, then I went across to New Zealand, Australia, then all around Asia over the course of a year.
It's just different when you travel. You become a different person. I don't know. And then all of a sudden you figure out that it's a scam. It's a scam. Yeah. You don't have to be talented. You don't even have to work hard. You just have to know the right people. Now I know that this is part of it.
No, man, that is a huge part of it. Unfortunately, that's a huge part of it.
In my world, not as much. Well, maybe now, but not as much, because fighting is fighting. But in your world,
see, this is what I love about fighting, right? Because it's so exposed. It's like open. You know what I mean? That you can just see there. Everyone can see. The general public can see who's the actual winner and who's the loser. Yeah. Sometimes, if it comes down to directing or other stuff like that, there's shit in the background that's going on that's preventing you from maybe progressing. Do you know what I mean? So you're being held back, you know, because you're not winning, you're not being commissioned. You know, someone else who's the favourite or may know someone might get it over you. You know, but then you can obviously, you keep pushing on and you can get past that too. Do you know what I mean? But it's about being able to push on.
If someone has the right platform and the right money, they have the ability to make themselves so much better than you without actually doing it. So I think there's
there's the flip side. Like,
the hard work side of it. Hard work side of it, to me, hard work takes a long time to come true. So if you're working hard for 10 years and you're really, really, really talented, it takes about 10 years for it. People can kind of hotwire that system now.
Yeah, you know, the times have changed since when I started out, I guess, as well. So when I started, like, people were putting videos on YouTube, but they weren't of a really high standard. Do you know what I mean? It's more like homemade kind of videos. Nowadays, like you said earlier on, people who are starting out have access to all this amazing equipment, can make stuff look beautiful, you know, very, very easily.
Filters,
you know, filters and whatever else, and like the shallow depth of field and all this kind of stuff, you know, and but it does still, I don't know, to make a quality piece, you have to have talent, you have to have experience, you know what I mean? You have to just be good, you know, but and there are people out there like that, you know what I mean? Because you can see it everywhere. But I guess what I was just saying sort of earlier on, that like where I kind of came from was I didn't aspire to be, you know, in the early days, like a blogger or a vlogger or, you know, YouTube or this type of person or an influencer. I wanted to be a director, and it was a different kind of process back then, you know? So it was sort of, you weren't like kind of like selling yourself or just promoting yourself online, you know, as much as people do now. Like, so it is a lot more transparent now. People can just like upload stuff onto YouTube or wherever, or Instagram, and it can potentially just be like a boxing match or a MMA fight. People get to see whether it's good or not. But then you do have the other side of it, where people can pay for, you know, fake likes or followers and all this kind of stuff, or just promote themselves.
This is what I'm on about.
And that's the other side of it, you know. So you do have people then who maybe don't have the talent or that, but they have a huge sort of popular account where it appears like that, and then they're getting work, you know what I mean, or whatever. They're getting the opportunities.
You've created a documentary called
Home. Yeah,
incredible documentary.
Brilliant. Thank you.
The idea of why?
So I didn't know much about homelessness. whatsoever. Do you know what I mean? Like, except for seeing the people that I walk
And
past
you would
on the
see it
street.
in London an awful lot of time.
Everywhere. So in the US, my first experience with homelessness was when I was like 23. And when I said I went traveling around the world, and actually I lived in downtown LA for, you know, I spent a bit of time there before I went down to New Zealand and Australia. And I stayed in a place called Skid Row. No, sorry, I didn't stay there. I was close to Skid Row. And this is where there's like, it's literally a kind of like an area with thousands of homeless people just on the streets, living in cardboard boxes, tents. They have their lives in trolleys. Now you know, it's like something from a movie or from another planet. I'd never seen anything like this. And I wanted to film this the minute I got there. Do you know what I mean? I was just like blown away in the night. You know what I mean? It was just crazy.
I see this in Canada now.
Yeah, you probably saw it in Canada as well.
Hastings, so I know, I kind of understand.
Yeah, and so same thing. I'd seen like homelessness around London, obviously in Ireland as well. And when I used to come back and forth from London to Dublin, and would be out in pubs and stuff with my mates, you know, I noticed the situation getting worse.
What year was this?
I would say, so if I've lived in London for 14 years now, so it was probably over the last 10 years I noticed it kind of getting...
At that time, would it be right in saying that homelessness would be connected to drink and drugs and sometimes...
That's what it looked like. The guys that I was seeing at that point, they seemed like they were definitely addicted to drugs, you know what I mean, or had that kind of...
Because that has changed drastically.
Yeah. There's a number of reasons, you know what I mean? It can be those, it can be like a family, it can be like just the journey of life, it can be, you know, not enough housing, it can be just losing your job, whatever, you know, there's a variety of things, but it can also obviously be alcohol and drugs too.
Yeah.
But
to me, like, that's what's in people's heads.
So that was the thing, man. I never, when I walked past these people on the street, I never thought like, or considered how they got there. I just thought, you know, that it probably was something that they did, like drink or drugs, and it was kind of like their own fault or something like that. I had that kind of, you know, ignorant mentality. And but of course, look, don't get me wrong, I did donate, you know, to people and try and help them out. And then as I got older as well, you know, we'd all been told, you know, maybe don't give them money, but buy them something to eat or that kind of thing. Just to say how it started off, so I had an idea for Glenn's Christmas Eve bus that he does on Glen Hansard, the bus that he does on Grafton Street. So I spoke to him. He does it every year. Been doing it for a long time. Various different musicians come out and sort of support him, and they play in front of the crowd. But so I had an idea for a while, and then I ended up approaching him, and he liked what I had to say, and you know, he sort of said that I could go along that year and film it. You know, the whole bus with the different artists and stuff. But so many people turned out that year. It was like literally rammed on Grafton Street. People couldn't get in and out of shops, and the police, they had no choice but to close it down after a couple of songs. So I didn't get to film like really very much.
To close the shops.
Yeah, they should have. But anyway, it crossed over then into Whelan's for a select few. It's like a private session, and so I, you know, went up to that, and I continued filming, and I shot that entire sort of gig, or as much of it as I possibly could. Maybe I didn't get a couple of songs, and I've now sort of, you know, created a film for that, like out of that sort of session, and that's called We Will Sing. That's just been released today. Actually, I've released a trailer there last week.
Class.
Yes.
I've seen the trailer, and it looks like a flyer of session.
When I do projects like this, and coming from like music videos that were heavily supported by huge record labels and that kind of thing, and getting lots and lots of hits, and then I go and do something like this that's entirely independent, like no budget, just self-funded, just, you know, just hard work and getting people to do me favors, you know, who've been really good to help out, like different people in the industry in Ireland and in the UK, and so what I mean is you put yourself on the line. Do you know what I mean? Because you're just putting something out there, and you're kind of hoping for the best. You've no money to kind of pump to get hits or to try and promote it, you know what I mean? So you're relying entirely on sort of people spreading the word. Like people like Hot Press have been incredible, because I did an advert for them which involved all of their sort of covers, you know, a lot of them from back in the 70s, from when they started up, and right through to when I did the ad in 2013. And it's sort of just, it's this high paced kind of advert, just flicking through them with music from the Stripes, the Irish band, and so that ended up winning, like I won like a best director award for that with it's Wide Eyed Media now. It used to be Carlton Screen Advertising. You know, they do all the ads before the cinemas. Yeah, you know.
So you shot that ad there?
No, this is all animation, right? So this is all where I've used the actual covers. I've sort of like scanned the covers, put them onto a CG kind of box. Do you know what I mean? And then like sort of animated them. Well, I kind of did the sort of the initial animation. Then I worked with like Windmill Lane in Dublin to get that, you know, to finesse the final kind of ad, get the animation working right, and you know, get it all.
Excuse my ignorance, but kind of like
It's all right.
Like a PowerPoint kind of thing, not like a PowerPoint, but
My version.
No, well, is it like, is the software kind of like that, like in a way where you upload everything into it and then
it's basically
you pick which way they go, and
it's like just a normal. It's a 3D package that they do all the main Hollywood movies and stuff in. So it's quite sophisticated, but I wanted a very simple kind of effect. You know what I mean? That was just, it is simple but effective, and that's what I wanted.
And that's the stripes in the background of that.
That's the stripes. Yeah, you can't judge a book by the cover.
Really?
Yes.
So you work with Kanye West. What the hell is Kanye like? What?
To be honest, man, no, I can't say that I've actually worked with him face to face, right? When I worked on a video of his called Black Skinhead, fully animated video, CG. So a CG version of him, and that's the video from start to finish. It was an interactive music video. But yeah, so I didn't even know, like, when I got this contract that it was for Kanye. I just knew that a director that I had known, like, he's a fashion photographer initially, and he still is, but he also directs music videos and such, that he was attached to it. His name's Nick Knight, a British, fashion photographer. So he's done, like, videos for Lady Gaga and stuff like this. I knew that, like, Jay-Z was releasing an album at that time and Kanye was releasing an album. I thought it must be one of these two guys, something for them. So I was damn excited. This is incredible, yeah.
Yes.
And so I got there, arrived in the penthouse, at the top of the hotel, and I saw the name Black Skinhead, and just on a computer screen or something. And I said, "Geez, this is Kanye's new video, isn't it? It's Kanye's album, single." So I had to kind of like sign the document there and then. And yeah, then they revealed more about the job, and we were literally, our base was in this like penthouse, suite in at the top of the hotel, and it was kitted out with like computers and a whole kind of like post-production sort of facility, and that's where we worked for like the next sort of like 2 months, best part of 2 months, on like delivering that CGI sort of Kanye video. And it was just like an incredible project to be part of. And yeah, I mean, a lot of hard work, like it was long hours and that, but worth it, The reason why I did these projects, like not just having the opportunity, but I wanted to cross over from short form, which was like adverts and music videos, like 4 or 5 minute things, or even in adverts, 30 seconds, 45 minute and so on, to then doing long form, because I wanted to do films, So it just kind of worked out that when I had then made that decision, and that's why I contacted Glenn. Then it crossed over into me sort of having access to Apollo House. Okay. I didn't plan on doing like a film about the homeless in Apollo House.
No, I know what you mean.
Or homeless on the street. It just kind of organically happened. So
if there was no one else filming it, it wouldn't have been filmed.
Yeah, that was it. It's a moment in time that was captured, and I got to meet then not just Apollo House, but the people actually on the streets. So I continued with it over the next, number of years until now. It's only been released in the last sort of, when was it, end of October or something, started doing festivals. And like it was awarded there at the Dublin Independent Film Festival, won like best short documentary, 35-minute film. Thank you very much. Man. And you have to remember, right, there was no support, no funding or anything like that. It was just something, just getting off my ass and getting out there with a camera and just sort of meeting the people, and then just getting favours from different people who could help me out here in Ireland and the UK in terms of editing and that kind of stuff, audio. Yeah. And like I say, I'm not, necessarily a documentary filmmaker. That's not really my background. I've done a few things just like with mates and that, and then in Thailand as well. But I just had this opportunity, and when I got down there and started filming, I said, you know what, man, it opened my eyes.
Grabbed your heart.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. And I realised I have to continue with this, but I got to it's not just about Apollo, it's about the people who are actually on the streets.
Absolutely.
And that's what the next phase was for me, was getting out there and meeting the people. The first person I came across was a fella called Tommy. And he was just opposite Trinity College there, just down by past Grafton Street. And he was just literally just with a sleeping bag around, and people just walking past him, crowds of people. Just, it looked in a really bad way. Just like rocking himself for some form of comfort, you know what I mean? Just like, and nobody seemed to be kind of like taking any note of him or giving him anything. He had a paper cup sat beside him. And so I eventually went over to him, started speaking to him, and I just, he came to life, just through some human interaction. And we started getting on. I realised, fucking hell, this guy has a great character. You know what I mean? I could actually see this guy could be someone. Like, everybody can be someone, but do you know what I mean? It's like he had, like, I hadn't even heard him like perform or anything at this stage. You know what I mean? But I just saw it in his eyes that this guy, there's something like very special about this guy. And so we got on really well, and he then sort of told me that he had a passion for music, and he was a rapper. And so I asked him, could he perform, a rap for me there and then on the street with people walking past, and he started doing this like rap about homelessness. I think it's just I'm homeless.
If you haven't seen this, check it out.
Dublin is home to almost 2 million people, but today, more than ever, its streets highlight the disparity between prosperity and impoverishment, with a growing number who struggle to survive.
I'm homeless, living rough on the streets. I got no food to eat, I got nowhere to sleep. I get down the street to the welfare, but the welfare I had the other day, the fuckers don't care. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm training outside, there's holes in my shoes, some water getting through. I never knew what it was gonna be like until I got kicked out of my house that night. Now I'm roughing it, got nowhere to live. Asking people on the street to give what they can give, but people they just walk straight past. Look to me as if I was made of glass. I'm homeless, but I'm human too. I'm no different to any of you. It's just your ignorant attitude that makes me feel like I'm nothing to lose. I'm homeless, but I'm human too. I'm no different to any of you. It's just people's ignorant attitude that makes me feel like I'm nothing to lose. Homeless. It's a crisis.
So I was just blown away. I was filming all this and then kind of speaking to Tommy on and off sort of camera or, and that kind of thing. And so then I noticed that once I sort of interacted with him, I was sat on the floor with my camera beside him, do you know what I mean? And people then started to kind of interact with him more. You know what I mean? Just because maybe it made him a little bit more approachable or something or whatever it was, And then a woman came up, gave him like a baguette. He said, "Thank you very much." She walked off and then he opened it up and he complained that there was no meat in it. So then, but man, the thing was, no, he said, "You know what, Scott, I don't even think he knew my name at this point, but anyway, he said, you know what, you'll never go home or hungry in Ireland. The people are so generous, you know what I mean? And that's the thing, that they'll always give you food." And that I could really see that he was very grateful for everything that he was given.
I commend what you do. I really think it's great, and you know what, I'm looking forward to sitting down and seeing the reaction that this gets. It's
been fairly positive so far. Do you know what I mean? It's been everyone who's seen it has come back to me, like at festivals. They've come to me afterwards, and like the best comment I've had is from a few people. They said that it opened their eyes in terms of that they now look at the people on the streets in a completely different light.
Massive.
That they didn't realize. I think that's what it is. It's just education. People just didn't know. And they didn't know that the people's stories, the stories behind the people that are there sat on the street corners or wherever it might be, and then actually hearing about that and, I've been able to empathise with them, and, that's what makes a difference, I think.
Yeah, no, massive. It's a pleasure to have you on, Scott.
No worries. Thank you very much. Man.